Welcome back to another edition of Real Recognizes Real, where I am your host, College Cottrell. And this week we got a fun one. We're going back to the defensive side of the ball here, and we're going to be taking a look at Miami safety Jakobe Thomas. And for me, this is a fun one because I think, so far this season, this is going to be our first guy who is most likely going to be a day three guy. I think he has the potential to slide at the end of round three there, but I'm fairly confident he's going to be more of a day three guy, but a guy who I really love and I think is criminally underrated here in the draft process. So I really can't wait to go ahead and break down his film and just talk about some of the things that I really like there with him. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into where we start, and that's with the pros and cons. And with Jacoby, the first thing you notice pretty much right away is his play recognition. He has an elite ability to predict route concepts, and Miami, it is a team that played a lot of zone coverage throughout the season, and you could tell that they really trusted Jacoby to trust his instincts and go out and make plays. To me, I think he does a really good job of having the balance of recognizing where route concepts are or what route concepts are starting to form, while also reading the quarterback's eyes to see where the quarterback is ultimately looking to go with the football there. So his play rec is off the charts there, and one of the first things you recognize. And with that, I think for me that leads right into the next thing here, which is that the guy is an absolute ball hawk. He has 9 career interceptions and he has 4 career forced fumbles. And so again, I think all the 3 games that we're going to go over with the film study and the all 22 look, he does get an interception in all of those games, but you'll get a chance to really see how he's doing it in zone coverage or how he's making a quarterback not realize that he is sitting on top of some of these routes there. And the fact that he has the 4 career forced fumbles there as well, I think again that leads right into this next part, which is going to be his intensity that he plays with. He is a hard hitter. He is when he's coming downhill, he's coming down with bad intentions, and he's coming to knock the football out of your hands. So I think the way that he's able to play, as fast and free as he is, with his ability to locate the football and either punch it out or get interceptions there. It's a big part of why I absolutely love him. And then on top of all of that is he's one of those guys that brings the energy. You could tell that the Miami defense kind of feeds off of that energy that he's bringing to a team, because after that big hit or after he makes a tackle or a PBU, he's getting up and he's talking to everybody about it. He's the one high fiving his teammates and getting on people. So he definitely brings the energy, and feels like a guy that's a perfect, addition to a defensive back room there. Now going over to the con side, I noticed that in his run support, at times at least, when he's going downhill, he's so instinctive and he reads things so fast. Is that he's so quick to react that when he flies downhill, it almost makes the offensive lineman's job a little bit easier to pick him up because he's putting himself out of position, just kind of thinking like, I'm going to get to the spot before the ball actually gets there. And so that was definitely something I noticed on film at times. There is that he made himself, too easily blocked just because he was going, a million miles a minute there. Another con that I had for him is that while he does have great instincts, and I do think he's great at recognizing play designs and things like that, I think he does have room to work on his discipline. And I say that because there was definitely times where you see against, teams that are running trick plays or that have double moves and things like that, you would see that he kind of got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And, there are times where, offenses on the other side didn't necessarily get to expose it. But again, when you're kind of looking at it from the all 22 view, you get a chance to really see what could have been there had the quarterback been looking in that direction, or had, you know, Jacoby Thomas not been playing for a team that has absolute monsters on the defensive line and Akeem Messidor and Ruben Bain Jr. there. And then the last thing that I have for him, which I think he did a lot better job of in 2025, but tackling is still one of those things that you have to worry about with him. He's a hard hitter, and I think he does tackle well, but as a whole, it's just not too consistent. And that 15% missed tackle rate is very alarming, and I think a big part of the reason why you're not seeing him talked about as far as like those top 5 safeties in this class, because for a guy that's playing strong safety, you want them to be sure tacklers and you want them to be able to take care of business in zone coverage there as well. So I definitely think he has a ton of room for improvement there. But with that said, I mean, he was a guy that had 75 tackles this past season. So he definitely can tackle. He just needs to work on the consistency, make sure he's wrapping guys up as opposed to just always going for the big hit and things like that. And I think he's going to have, plenty of room to grow there. And for me, that leads right into my player comp forum. And that's going to be a guy who also went, on day 3 there. But if you actually watch the Carolina Panthers, he was a key starter for them on the defensive side of the ball, and that's Lathan Ransom. These guys have very similar frames here, 6'1" to 6 foot, 211, 206. And then the measurables from their pro day are pretty similar, 33, 36 and a half, 4.56, 4.53. I definitely see, a lot of Lathan Ransom in Jakobe Thomas. And I think a big part of that is because of how he brings the energy, his ability to understand and diagnose what offenses are running on the flip side, of him. Plus, him just being a day 3 pick, in my opinion, and going to a team that I think he can contribute right away and ultimately turn out to be a starter for them in the secondary. So I see a lot of similarities between him and Lathan, and I think Jacoby would be, pretty well off. He finds himself in a situation, even as day 3 pick, where he can come in and make an impact for an NFL defense pretty much right away there. So that is going to lead us right into our first game with him. And the 3 games that we're going to be breaking down this week are going to be all from 2025. The first one's going to be against Florida State. The next one's going to be against NC State, which I think was his best game probably of his college career. And then the last one's going to be the semifinal against Ohio State. But we will start off here with this game against Florida State. And let's go ahead and get in here. Perfect. So, first play that I have here is actually the one negative play that I have on Jakobe Thomas from these 3 games here. And it's going to be the eye discipline that I was referencing here. So, Florida State's going to ultimately run a trick play here. You got Jakobe Thomas lined up down here. And we'll take a look at it from the snap here. So, they give the ball off to the running back here. Looks like it's going to be a double reverse. They're going to give it to the wide receiver, and he'll flick it back to the quarterback. But you'll see Jakobe Thomas and just kind of where his eyes are wandering. So he goes there. He's trying to flow over here. He recognizes that, hey, this is actually my responsibility back over here. Like, this is my zone, and I absolutely dropped the ball. So you see him try and get on this horse and, go back here. Luckily for Miami, the ball was underthrown here, and it ended up being an incompletion there. But again, for me, although the play itself, didn't really matter because it was incompletion. Just one of the things that I kind of worry about with him because, it just feels like at times he's playing too fast and, just kind of not fully recognizing what's happening there. Let's go ahead and go to 12:53 in this matchup and start it off here. All right. So you see Jacoby going over to this side of the field, playing right here. And I got this diagnosed as him playing fast. So this is a screenplay. Ball's going to the running back here, and Florida State's got linemen out in front. Like, let's be honest here. This is one offensive lineman that's got open space here, 2, and this is a third one that's just waiting to whip his head around and look for work there. So you got 3 offensive linemen, and Jacoby Thomas is really the only one that's recognizing what's happening here. So he has to make this play, or it's going to be a big one. And let's take a look and see what he does. So he gets downhill right away there. Boom. Running back drops it. But even if he doesn't, that's going to be a tackle immediately. And, that's great play recognition from Jacoby Thomas. Let's take a look at it here from the end zone view. So you see it pretty much right away here. He's got his eyes in the backfield. Again, Miami's in zone coverage, so it's perfectly fine for him to have his eyes in the backfield. But he sees these 3 linemen pretty much release right away there. And without any hesitation, he is all the way downhill there. That lineman had absolutely no shot to block Jacoby there. That's great stuff from him. And again, that's where I think those instincts really come into play for him. Now we will go over to 15:20, where we got him again playing fast. So let's try and locate him. I believe this is him on this side. Yep, that's going to be him right there. They go the reverse this time, and he's diving through blocks there. Misses the tackle, which again, you would like to see him make that play. It kind of goes for the ankles there, misses, but his teammates are there to help him kind of clean it up there. But let's take a look at it again here from this view because I think you get a better view from it here as opposed to the end zone view. But right away, I mean, this is off the snap there. He's recognizing it and he is downhill. And again, Florida State has three offensive linemen plus a receiver that is looking for work here. This is four Florida State players up against these three Miami players who recognize what's going on here. And Jakobe is able to, dip under the first defender. I mean, offensive receiver there, dip under the lineman, and then get to the running back to at least slow his path down and get there for his teammates to make a play there. So I think that's a positive in the sense of him recognizing it, him getting downhill, and being there to be in position to make a play. The negative is you want that to be a tackle because if his teammates aren't there, let's say it was a play like the last one that we just saw previously. If he missed the tackle, it could go for a big one, on the flip side there. So you'd like him to see him finish the tackle there, but I love the instincts and I love his ability to just kind of fly downhill and go make a play. Now we will go over to 2340 here. And this is going to be more so about his playmaking ability. What's up, Carmike? I see you over there in the comments. Appreciate you. Appreciate you tapping in with me. Um, but this one he's going to attack the ball. I think this is he's going to force turnover here. So top of the screen here, got him over there, and we'll see kind of where the play goes here. So I think this is one of the few times where Miami is actually in man coverage in this game. Yep. So he's lined up here against this receiver, and ball goes over there, but he's going over there with a purpose, and his purpose is to punch the football out, and that's exactly what he does. Um, Florida State was ultimately able to recover here, but again, we'll take a look at it here from the end zone view because I do think you get a good look of what's happening here. So he's in man coverage here. Nothing special with the coverage there, but he was there on top of the route there. But what's important is he gets over to the football, and he's not just trying to get the guy out of bounds or get the guy down. He's making an active effort to punch the football out, and I love seeing that from this guy because it shows up all the time on film. And then we just got a couple more plays in this one, two plays that just talk a little bit more about his play recognition there. 2735 here. And so I believe this is him down here, bottom of the screen. Yep, that is him. And he's in zone coverage, and the play really should have beat him. Um, Quarterback lofts a better ball there. You would think that that should be an easy pitch and catch for a first down, but shout out to Jakobe here. He uses his length and again uses that recognition and seeing what's going on here because clearly you would think that he's just going to be right on top of this little hitch right here, but he's got his eyes in the backfield the entire time. He's not really worried about what this receiver is doing because he sees the quarterback's not even looking his direction as far as giving him the football there. He's not even turned around yet either. They know this isn't going to be, just a 3 yard hitch, as a timing route when you got a defender sitting right there in zone coverage there. So Jacoby is able to recognize that again pretty much instantly here and goes over to get his hand on the ball. And that's a PBU and, makes life harder for Florida State there. And then we'll go over to the last play from this game here that I wanted to highlight. It's at 30:09. And I believe this is going to be the takeaway. So you got Jacoby top of the screen here, and let's see what they're in. So definitely a zone coverage kind of look here. I would say probably cover three, but a little odd because you got two of your safeties as two of your three of your deep thirds there. But regardless, Jacoby is in zone coverage here, and there's nothing over to this side of the field. He has absolutely no threat here, and he's a smart football player enough. Again, his eyes are on the quarterback the entire way here, and in zone coverage, you have that ability to do so. And if he doesn't go off of his zone here, this receiver would have a open lane to this pylon over here, and that absolutely has the potential to be a touchdown. But Jacoby is smart enough to realize, hey, I don't have any work over here. I'm going to work to, give my teammates some additional support here. And that's exactly what he does. Eyes on the quarterback. He sees him looking deep, and he gets on his horse and he beats him to the spot. We'll take a look here as the play continues. Yes, it was an underthrow, but Jacoby is in there to make a play on the football there, going backwards in his back pedal, ball over his head. He makes a great play on the football there. Definitely something that you'd love to see. We'll just fast forward here because I think the best part of this is kind of just realizing he high points the football there. He's going on his back, and as a DB, that's a great catch. And that's how you take the football away and give another opportunity to your offense. But that is it for this Miami versus Florida State game. We'll go ahead and go right into the next one. And this is the game where I say I think that this is his best performance, probably in all of his college career here. And I'm sure if you ask him, he'll probably agree. We start off pretty early in this one, and this first play is charted as play recognition here. So you see him, he's lined up right here, right on the midfield logo there, and let's take a look and see what happens. So, got it going out there. Again, another screenplay, and he is flying downhill to go and make a play. Oh, well, I think I actually spotlighted the wrong one. Where's Jacoby? This must be Jacoby actually right here. So let's take a look and see what happens here. So he notices it right away. It's going over, and he is flying downhill with bad intentions to go get it. But that time he did a great job of reading, like, hey, I can't just go right into that block here. They're going to probably try and follow that block. And so I'm going to try and beat him to the spot there. So again, great stuff by him. It is tough to run a screenplay when Jakobe Thomas is on the other side of the field because he's going to sniff it out pretty much right away. So again, you'll see it here from the end zone view. He's looking at the quarterback's eyes, and then he sees these offensive linemen release. So for him, instantly it's boom, I got to get downhill. I got to go make a play on the running back. And that's exactly what he does. So gets by the offensive lineman, goes down, gets a tackle. It's a minimal gain there. You got to be happy with that. Now we will move on to the second play from this game here. It's at 3:25. I got it listed as him playing fast. So again, you see him top of the screen here. This is actually him this time. So again, top of the screen over there, and he reads it, and this looks like it's going to be either an inside zone or it's going to be an outside zone hitting play. Running back runs it as if it's an outside zone play. It's one on one with him and the running back, and he reads everything perfect. Once he realizes it's going to be one on one to the sideline, he attacks fast downhill, and that is a big hit on a running back there. And again, that's the intensity that I'm talking about afterwards. He's talking, he's getting hype with his teammates there. I absolutely love to see that. So again, we'll see it here from the end zone view. He's making his checks and things like that. But play hits, goes out on the outside there. And as soon as that happens and he sees that and there's nobody else, as a line of protection for that running back, he is sprinting downhill and going to put a big hit on the running back there. Absolutely love to see it. Now we will go over to 651 here, where he's showing off a little bit of the ball skills again. Um, so where is he listed? So Jacoby's right here on the field there. And let's take a look and see what happens in this one. So boom. Go one more time here. So he's able to recognize right away. Obviously, they are in a zone coverage there. And he's kind of got a few different responsibilities, right? Like he could have this receiver going vertical. Like this is supposed to be, a route concept that puts him in, conflicting in conflict here. You're supposed to have this receiver have the ability to go out and get on top of that. And then you got this receiver in the flat. So the quarterback's supposed to make the high-low read here. But with Jakobe Thomas being in zone and with his eyes on the quarterback, he's able to diagnose that right away. And once that he sees that this receiver is turned back looking for the ball, and that the quarterback is already in his throwing motion, even though there is this, 10-yard cushion between the two of them, he knows if I get on my horse right now, I'm going to have a shot to pick this ball off. And that's exactly what he does. And he puts himself in a position to get right in front of the receiver. And not only does he get the interception, but he takes it all the way back to the crib for the score and, puts points up on the board for Miami. And again, he is bringing that energy every single time that he makes a play. You absolutely love to see it. Take a look here. I don't know if you'll be able to see too much from the end zone view. You'll be able to see the interception when it happens, and he is getting right in front of that receiver, and again has the ability to not just get the takeaway, but put some points up on the board for that Miami defense, and definitely giving those guys a spark in this game. Then we would go over to 10:31 in this one, where again you got Jakobe lined up here, top there. Boom. And you got him in zone coverage. And again, he's just reading the quarterback's eyes. This is something that could be going, attacking the field vertical. And you would think middle of the field would be wide open there. But again, Jacoby is able to trust the instincts and he sees the quarterback getting in his throwing motion and he sees this route breaking across the middle. And so what does he do? He jumps it right away. Boom. High points the ball, gets the interception, and Miami is back in business and puts the offense back on the field there. So we'll see it again from the end zone view here. I'm thinking that this play here, this is not his responsibility there. But again, soon as he sees the quarterback look this direction and has an inkling of an hitch there, he is like, forget this receiver. I don't care that he's going across the middle of the field there and in my zone. I know where the football is going here. And he gets out there and he jumps it, boom, and that's takeaway. And that's stuff you can't teach, man. And again, you'd like to see the discipline and things like that there, but Miami clearly gave him, the green light to go and make plays and be aggressive on defense there. And it worked out for him a ton because he was able to, take the ball away a lot for the Hurricanes defense. Now we will move over to 16:28 in this game. And we will take a look at where's Jacoby. Find him right here, middle of the field there, working. I got this charted as in playing fast there, so I believe this is actually going to be a run play or a screen play. Actually, neither, but he's in zone and quarterback takes off, and he's got his eyes on the entire way there, and he gets down to make it a short gain. So middle of the field here again. He's in zone coverage, so his eyes stay on the quarterback pretty much at all times in this one. And from the snap there, he's in his zone, but he's looking at the quarterback, realizes no options are there, sees the quarterback's taking off. He goes down and he makes tackle and, limited to a short gain there. So I loved everything that I saw there with that. That's how you take care of your assignments there. And then we will move on over to the last game in this one. It is going to be at 22-29 because I believe this is another interception, and this pretty much ended his night defensively because Miami was in such control of this game. And, with him taking the ball away, two times there and things like that, they were able to get a ton of stops here. Actually, this isn't the interception. They are in a cover one coverage here, and I wanted to show this play because the instincts are insane on this. So right, literally off the snap there, he realizes that this corner is beat, and he sees the quarterback looking in his direction. So we're only literally 1 second off of the snap here, and right away he is on his horse, and quarterback's not even in his throwing motion yet, but he's already on his horse, and he knows where the ball is about to be. So he's flying over there, and DB. It ultimately ended up being underthrown. And the DB got called for pass interference there because the ball was underthrown there. But I mean, if this ball is out where it's supposed to be, this could be potentially a hat trick for Jacoby Thomas in this one. So again, just kind of seeing it, he gets on his horse right away there. Ball is underthrown, so he doesn't actually have an opportunity to make a play on the ball. But that's just great to recognize what is happening, on a play and just immediately being there to give your guys some support. But that is the last one from that game. And now we're going to go over to the college football playoff game. And that was the game against Ohio State, where I think he had a really good showing, there as well. So, and then this will be the last one for us for Jakobe this week. So, we are starting off with him showing off his ability to play fast here. So, he's kind of tough to recognize in this game. I believe this is him right here, right on the Goodyear logo, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, that's actually going to be him down there. So let's start the play over here. So this is actually going to be him right here, center fielder. Again, recognizing the play. It's a run play going over to the right there. And he just goes downhill and makes a tackle. You would like him to be a short tackle like that all the time. And so I think, I wanted to put this play in here because he's able to diagnose what's happening. It's just the it's just the basic zone run scheme here. And, he gets downhill right away and is able to make a clean tackle in open field. So that's what I would like to see more of. He tackles, he wraps, and he's able to prevent a big game from happening there, even with just being one on one with a really good running back in Bo Jackson from Ohio State. Now we will go over to 23-28. Got this listed as a big hit. Just kind of shows you the boom that he brings with him. Go here. All right, cool. Believe this one is actually going to be in the red zone. All right, maybe I'm. Okay, I think it'll actually be this play here. So you got Jakobe Thomas right here. And he's in zone coverage, just kind of looking to see what's around him. Again, he's got his eyes on the quarterback the entire time here. You're not really worried about this guy immediately because he's not a threat to cross the goal line and you're keeping everything in front of you. But when Julian Sand starts looking that direction and the ball goes that way, he flies downhill and he puts his helmet through his chest and buries him in the ground. So you absolutely love to see that. So let's take a look at it here one more time. Go in that direction, going downhill right away there. And that's not a little guy that he just, put through the dirt there. I mean, that's Bennett Christensen, a tight end that's probably going to get drafted in this year's NFL draft next week at some point. So that's it's impressive, even though he's able to fly downhill and tight end doesn't see him coming, but it's impressive for him to be able to, lay that kind of hit even on a guy of that size there. But we are going to go ahead and move on now to 32-44, where he shows off a little bit of the play recognition. All right, let's take a look, figure out where he's at here. I believe this is him up top here. During this game, again, tough to spot in this game as well. He took off some of his accessories, I think, at halftime. So it was tough to kind of spot him, but I think this is him up here, if I'm not mistaken. And so, again, he's in zone coverage here, but similar to what we saw last week, I don't think this is his responsibility. But, they give him so much free reign here that he knows he doesn't have anything that's threatening his zone. So he's able to fly downhill on this play. And I think that's what leads to this being a coverage sack. And you'll get a better view of it from the end zone angle. So Julian Sand is looking Jeremiah Smith's way the entire time here. And the fact that look, you see the pump fake and the little hitch there? The reason why he stopped that and the reason why he doesn't throw that is because he sees that Jakobe Thomas is flying in and he knows that's not going to be a good play because you're leaving Jeremiah Smith in a position where he can get absolutely blown up from Jakobe there. And all it takes is that, split second hitch in your throw there and a little bit of second guessing. And Miami's defensive line is able to get home and, they get another sack on Julian Sand in this one. But that is due to Jakobe Thomas being there and taking away the planned option for Julian Sand, on this one. Then we're going to go over to 35-29. We just got a couple ones left here before we're all wrapped up with Jakobe. 35-29 here. So again, I think this is him up top here. Take a look though. Take a look and see what happens. Yes, that is going to be him. And this play is going to Carnell Tate there. So we'll go boom. He's able to get the hit, get the PBU, all that good stuff there. And his ability to just fly downhill is something special. So again, I take another look at it from this angle because I don't think the end zone does it really justice here. But see it there. He realizes Carnell gets a free release there, and at this point, he's just flying downhill to make sure that he makes this catch as difficult as possible. And even if he does catch it, he's going to feel that hit, and you know that it's not free to just come across the middle here against this Miami defense. So that's exactly what he does. Carnell sticks his hands out. He knows Jacoby's coming. He doesn't want to take the big hit, does it anyway. And it's incompletion there, and it's still third and long for this Ohio State offense. And then we're going to go to the last play in this one. This is what officially put it on ice for the Miami Hurricanes. It's at 37-23. And this is probably the easiest interception of his life. But I wanted to throw it on here because when you give Jakobe Thomas these cupcakes, I mean, he's going to take advantage of them every time there. So Saying gets hit while he's throwing the ball, and I'll just kind of let it go through. You'll be able to see it from the end zone view as well. But he's looking at the field, just kind of surveying the middle there. It looks like it's a man up, three deep kind of coverage there. And he's got his eyes on the quarterback the entire way. And like I said, I think Julian Saying gave him probably the easiest interception of his career here. So, again, we look at it from the end zone view. Looking at it, he's reading the eyes. Miami's defensive line gets home just so fast. They were so good in this game and just throughout all the season there. And Julian throws a wobbler there. Jacoby Thomas basically gets the fair catch it, and again, that puts the game on ice for the Hurricanes in that one. But that is all she wrote for Jacoby Thomas this week. I had a great time just looking at his film and being able to see, who he is as a prospect. I knew throughout the season, I really liked what I saw from him. And so I knew I wanted to do a bit more of a deeper dive on him. And again, I think he's going to be one of those guys where you get past the, Caleb Downs and Thienemans and McNeil Warrens and all those guys. And you're on day three and you're looking for a guy that absolutely can help your team. I think Jacoby Thomas can be one of those guys that even if it's just as a rotational piece there or a situational guy, I think he's going to be a guy that brings a ton of value to an NFL team here next week on day three of the draft there. But yeah, that is it for this week. Appreciate you guys tapping in here with me. I'm still going to do two more. I'm going to do another one next week. I believe next week I'm going to actually do UTSA linebacker Shad Banks, another guy who I think is going to be a steal for somebody on day three. And then we'll have one more prospect after the draft. I usually do 9 a season here. So I'm going to keep that consistent here for you guys. But again, appreciate everybody tuning in here with me live and, showing the support for the show and looking forward to seeing what happens next week between, the first 2 days of the NFL draft that we're getting on Thursday and Friday. And, ultimately seeing if some of the guys that we've already talked about have found a home or, maybe, some of the guys who like a Jacoby Thomas or a Shad Banks are in the process of finding their home while we're doing the film study. But appreciate you guys and looking forward to seeing you again next week.